NATO's top official said China could face sanctions for helping Russia in its invasion of Ukraine. NATO's top official said China could face sanctions for helping Russia in its invasion of Ukraine.
The mayor of Kharkiv highlights the critical situation facing his Ukrainian city.
Euro 2024 is in full swing across Germany. However, the event will not be enough to boost the country's stagnating economy.
NATO's top official said China could face sanctions for helping Russia. Jens Stoltenberg, Secretary General of NATO, said China's support of the Russian invasion of Ukraine could mean it faces economic consequences. In an interview with the BBC, Stoltenberg said China was trying to get it both ways by propping up the Russian war economy, while trying to maintain a normal economic relationship with European and NATO allies. He said they shared technologies like microelectronics with Russia, which were key for them to build missiles and weapons against Ukraine. Stoltenberg said there was an ongoing conversation regarding possible sanctions against China, stating that if China doesn't change their behavior, NATO should consider some kind of economic cost. A spokesperson for the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs responded to Stoltenberg's warnings.
北约作为冷战的产物和全球最大的军事集团，在乌克兰危机中扮演了什么样的角色？国际社会自有公论。北约应当做的是自我反思，而不是任意对中国进行抹黑攻击。
Stoltenberg also discussed Russian President Vladimir Putin's visit to North Korea, saying that it showed Russia's dependence on what he described as other authoritarian powers.
Germany's national security remains tense, according to the country's interior minister. Nancy Faeser said at a press conference in Berlin this week that measures to thwart internal and external political attacks have ramped up. It comes as her agency hands down its annual report for 2023.
Vor allem Russland, China und der Iran setzen ihre Nachrichtendienste umfassend zur Spionage gegen Deutschland ein. Hinzu kommen Versuche, durch Propaganda, Lügen und Desinformation Einfluss auf demokratische Staaten zu nehmen und Wut und Hass zu sehen oder zu verstärken. Zudem gibt es weiterhin Versuche, hier lebende Oppositionelle zu überwachen und zu verfolgen.
The president of the German Federal Office for the Protection of the Constitution also mentioned increasing far-right and far-left offences.
Die Vernetzungsaktivitäten der sogenannten neuen Rechten haben weiter zugenommen. Die Bedeutung dieser Akteure für die Binnenstruktur der rechtsextremistischen Szene steigt. Die von gewaltbereiten Linksextremisten ausgehenden Gefahren sind unvermindert hoch. Das zeigen gut geplante, brutale Angriffe auf politische Gegner, erhebliche Gewalt gegen die Polizei sowie schwere Brandanschläge auf Unternehmen und kritische Infrastruktur.
Meanwhile, 8 individuals faced court in Munich this week over allegations they were involved in a violent plot to overthrow the German government. The group are part of a larger pool of 26 far-right affiliated defendants accused of scheming to storm national parliament and arrest lawmakers, according to prosecutors.
Impunity is over, declared Ylva Johansson, Commissioner for Home Affairs, at a meeting on sexual and labour trafficking of human beings. Figures collected by Europol in April show 55 of the most dangerous criminal networks in Europe engage in trafficking.
I'd like also to thank you very much.
Last year, traffickers generated over $200 billion worldwide. We are now countering the culture of impunity with the new EU asset recovery rules that I put forward. We'll take away the fast cars, big houses and mountains of cash from the criminals.
The anti-trafficking directive proposed by the EU aims to make so-called knowing use a crime in all member states.
In the updated anti-trafficking directive, I've made sure it will soon be a crime in the whole European Union to knowingly use the service of trafficked victims. Previously, this was only criminalized in a few member states, and now we're ending this patchwork of practices.
Russia's war against Ukraine has also put Ukrainian refugees at risk of human traffickers and exploitation.
Ukrainian women and children remain vulnerable and a target. The threat is not over. We need to remain vigilant. And I'm glad in March, Europol set up an operational task force against traffickers targeting Ukrainians.
Sexual exploitation isn't the only form of human trafficking. 40% of all victims are trafficked for labour exploitation. A joint action involving 31 countries and Europol to address labour exploitation of non-EU nationals and refugees was launched in April.
This resulted in 51 arrests and the identification of 334 potential victims. Inspections were conducted across sectors such as catering, food processing, beauty services, logistics, agriculture and construction.
The new directive will also help to tackle new kinds of trafficking, such as of surrogate mothers, forced marriage and illegal adoption.
Kharkiv Mayor Ihor Terekhov said the city located near the Russian border endured 20 days of air raid alarms during the month of May. Speaking at the Ukraine Recovery Conference last week, Terekhov highlighted that despite the recent Russian offensive being halted, the situation in Kharkiv is still critical.
На жаль, ситуація складна, бо кожного дня ми маємо, на жаль, прильоти, кожного дня лунають вибухи в місті Харків. Практично кожного дня гинуть люди, є поранені, руйнації колосальні. Тому ворог обстрілює кожен день Харків.
Mobilisation has slowed during the past 800 days, but several 100,000 men will still need to be drafted in, according to Ukrainian armed forces.
Дивіться, я хочу сказати, що так, йде мобілізація. Так, я пам'ятаю перші дні війни, коли стояли черги до військкоматів, коли стояли черги отримувати зброю, ми роздавали цю зброю, і люди отримували зброю і йшли воювати, захищати свою країну, своє місто, і це ми розуміємо. Сьогодні ситуація по мобілізації є, люди мобілізуються, і цим займаються військкомати.
The war isn't just taking a toll on mobilisation, but also on the mental health of the Kharkiv residents.
Насправді дуже важко людям. Хтось звик до повітряних тривог, які постійно лунають. Я вже казав, що за травень місяць у нас було 20 діб повітряних тривог.
Many have welcomed the permission to hit Russian targets, but others suggest this isn't enough and call for more air defence systems.
France is facing serious security challenges ahead of the Paris Olympics next month. Military helicopters will be patrolling the city and protecting airspace on the day of the July 26th opening ceremony.
Il sera des hélicoptères d'alerte au sol, en vol, en fonction des points forts, des moments décidés par notre donneur d'ordre, pour assurer la protection de l'espace aérien.
On the day of the event, around 200 Olympic delegations will join the parade on the River Seine in more than 80 boats.
C'est le cas des dispositifs particuliers de sûreté aérienne pour lesquels donc, les hélicoptères Fennec participent justement à ce dispositif qui est forcément renforcé pour la période des Jeux Olympiques.
Security concerns previously led French President Macron to say the ceremony could shift to a stadium, though no alternatives are being prepared at this stage.
Despite the huge expectations and millions of big spending funds, experts agree that Euro 2024 won't be able to pull Germany's economy out of years of stagnation. According to a sports economist at the University of Cologne, research shows that in the big picture, similar sporting events have a minimal economic impact. The balance actually may be even negative at the end of the day.
There's substitution mechanisms at play, which are basically that people don't necessarily spend more money, but they just spend it in a different way. So that means that while normally people would go to the cinema, they would go to the theater, now they just go to the games, spend maybe money here, in the bars, in, I don't know, prepare barbecues at home.
4 of the 10 host cities are in and around the Ruhr area, the once heavy industry heart of Germany, but following the coal and steel crisis of the 1970s, the region shifted towards other services like office buildings or even becoming tourism destinations.
A Ruhrvidék átalakulásának egyik emblematikus helyszíne az Esseni-Zollverein szénbánya. Az óriási rozsdásodó épületek között ma turisták sétálnak, de a foci fontossága itt is tetten érhető. A környék tele van a helyi csapatok matricáival.
Football fans tend to splash out during big sporting events, but how much do they actually spend?
Maybe 100, 150 a day if we're drinking a lot and eating good food and stuff. But we're having fun, so it's okay.
Most of the money goes to bar, hotel and restaurant owners. Room prices have been skyrocketing ahead of the Euros. Some of those fans who weren't able to find an accommodation decided to opt for sleeping in cars.